There are many unknown mysteries in our universe to yet unravel, and there are those who seek to find the answers to these questions. Tonight, we embark on our journey behind the Obsidian curtain with your host, Carole Carle, here on the KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station. And now, I give you your host, Carole Carle.
Hello again, gentle listeners. If you're listening live, it is indeed the 17th of April, 2020. And we can promise you this is not going to be a show about that novel coronavirus, otherwise known as COVID-19, the nasty beast that seems to have found its way among us. The squirrels are scolding me in the backyard because their salt-free peanuts in the shell have not been delivered yet. They'll come tomorrow. We're all seeming to wait for this generation's iteration of the Wells Fargo wagon, are we not? The scrub jays are scolding. And a lot of us are observing long lines at the grocery store. Today we're going to talk about a different kind of lines. We're going to talk about lines in the desert outside Marfa, Texas, to be specific, with our guest, Dan Hoquist. Here is as he put it, a short and sweet bio of Dan Hoquist. Now living in Southern California, Dan Hoquist is an author, researcher, and amateur archaeologist. Dan found an ability for pattern recognition very early in his life, and he refined it with a passion for the logic of Sherlock Holmes. He's experienced and studied worldwide cultures and religions, and now represents the newest discoveries in the field of hidden histories, their connections to the present and the future of the human race. Dan in Southern California, can you hear me now?
Hi, Carole. Thank you for inviting me. You know, I'm glad to provide a little bit of paranormality in an otherwise chaotic universe.
Yes.
And really, I would like to talk a little bit about some common misconceptions of the Anunnaki.
That's a good start. And, you know, it does strike me that some of our gentle listeners may not be hip to the Anunnaki. So how about a little Anunnaki 101?
Yeah, the Anunnaki are supposedly, well, actually, I've come to find that they are real people, and there are traces of them everywhere. Everything connects to them, all our history, because we were actually created by them. The earliest histories that we have in mankind are those in cuneiform, which were found in they were actually found in the 1600s, but they weren't translated until about 1859. But the city of Ur, in the Sumerian city of Ur, was found in the early 1800s, and that had a great library of these cuneiform tablets that told the tale of these Sumerian gods, what they called gods, who came to Earth and created mankind to ease their labors. And yes, it not necessarily gold. And this is part of the common misconception that leads to common misperceptions. I do thank Zecharia Sitchin for bringing these studies back to the forefront. But really, the Anunnaki, when it's translated, somewhat, it says, those from heaven come to earth. It also has multiple meanings. Ki being earth, Ki, that is the name of a concubine of who they call the Anu. And the Anu is also a name. Now, these people, the Anunnaki, they name planets and stars after their own revered names. So the name Ki is not unusual, but the common misconception is that their planet is named Nibiru. And this was conceived of by Zecharia Sitchin, that there was a planetary impact that caused these people to come from their planet and try to fix things with a substance called monatomic gold. And I say monatomic gold because there's been traces found inside the Great Pyramid along with other pyramids. And it's a white powdery substance that is caused when you acidify heavy metals. And particularly gold has really unusual qualities. It becomes slightly antigravitic when certain temperatures are applied, and also it starts to become invisible too.
So I just want to just interrupt you for a second and circle back to what would acidify gold? What are the qualities that would have to occur? The events that would have to happen? The elements involved?
It just takes the gold itself, because gold is a singular element. Anytime you get to an elemental form, any of the heavier elements can be made into a monatomic substance by acidifying them. In other words, washing them in a very harsh acid.
But that would be something that would be done deliberately rather than
absolutely
something that would occur in an environmental change. Aha, okay. In other words, acid rain doesn't do it.
No. Okay. No. As a matter of fact, it's a very complicated process, and I don't believe that the people who built the Great Pyramid used acid. There's no sign of that. What there is sign of is possibly a vibratory action that along the length of the inner chamber, they had resonant crystal set up that broke down the element, but it also served other purposes. Everything the Anunnaki did has multiple meanings, multiple uses, and the Great Pyramid itself is not an energy generator, as a noted researcher, Mr. Dunn, has implicated.
Right. Now that's I again, I'm going to do this rude interruption here to sort of perhaps clarify. I usually get the feeling that if something occurs to me, that it's very likely there are other listeners who will want to get to the bottom of this, if possible. The idea then, for instance, as put forth in a lot of, again, science fiction tropes, you don't believe that the purpose of the Great Pyramid was anything to do with generating sound, generating energy, that pointy top, which originally, I guess, was covered with copper, that was not a, shall we say, radio tower?
Actually, I think it was covered in quartz.
Oh, okay. All right. My bad. Quartz.
Quartz is a very unusual substance, and you'll find it throughout all of the pyramids in Giza. Right now, they're doing some very, very unique things with quartz crystal. Mm-hmm. They're finding that it has incredible data storage. That right now, they have developed a method to inscribe the whole of the Congressional Library on 4 pieces of quartz crystal, about 2 inch by 2 inch, a little more than a quarter inch thick. Just 4 of those.
Wow.
For the whole Library of Congress.
That's staggering. It's
incredible. But, it comes to the point of, well, you need the machinery to play back this data.
That's where I was going. How would that then be transferred to anything that could be heard by the human ear, for instance?
And you have to think of the crystal skull when you bring up any crystal. It's been really thoroughly tested. It has incredible laser properties. I'm sure that it's part of a data, a system that we can't access because we don't have the tools.
Is there more than one crystal skull?
Yes.
Okay.
But, unfortunately, just like the crop circles, so much is fraud.
Yes.
I don't know why people do this. I other than to gain some publicity or, notoriety. Mm-hmm. But, we've seen that these things, when they fall apart, if you don't have the research to back it up.
Yes.
And now the misconception of Nibiru is really, it's gotten so insidious in the study of Anunnaki that you can't talk about one without the other.
Mm.
And as far as I can tell, Zecharia Sitchin must have conceived it out of his Freemasonry, possibly mixed with Mormonism.
Whoa, that is a great
thing.
rich stew, isn't it?
It's the closest thing that I can get to. I am a unique Anunnaki researcher because I don't use things that I can't research. In other words, I don't use the planet Nibiru. Their planet was called Anu, and Anu is actually a multiple name. It is the name of the leader. It is the name, something like a king, and it also is a name of sky. I've found that they were made of two particular clans, the Water Clan and the Air Clan. Well, they are now ruled by the Air Clan, and that lineage falls to that, that side, that clan. The Water Clan would be Ea or Enki. The two brothers, Ea and El, are Enki and Enlil.
I must say that my only knowledge of this on a personal level comes from the incredible information given to me and sent in my direction over a number of years by Neutron, who may be in KGRA chat right now, even as we speak. This is one of his favorite subjects of research and a lifelong trope that he's investigated. So I have just a little bit of a now Anunnaki. Now, are we okay? Speaking of Neutron, can we tie this on a commercial level for or to what we know of, as Neutron calls it, Okie Island, Oak Island?
Actually, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I was going to get into that.
Oh, perfect.
What makes me a unique investigator here is not only that I don't use biblical reference, because really, the Bible is a fine religious book, but the whole thing is written in a form called parable, and that's like a moralistic story form, something like Aesop's fables.
Yes, and I'm remembered of that famous Star Trek episode, and I unfortunately, it's so-and-so blah, 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 where the wall fell. It is a race that speaks in metaphors, and Picard has to interpret these, and finally, stumbles upon the fact that that's what they do. So that's kind of a similar thing, yes?
Yes, and but actually, apparently, the Torah is actually a retelling of stories from the Sumerian cuneiform stories of the Anunnaki, specifically the Enuma Elish. That's the story of creation. Atrahasis. This is also a story of their creation, or their history. It's very jumbled. It's as jumbled as the Torah and Bible, but the difference being that the cuneiform was written thousands of years before the Torah was written in Proto-Hebrew. And the Torah itself has to be written in a particular form and fashion of Hebrew because it's ciphered by a couple of levels in a form called Kabbalah.
Yes.
And you might have heard of that.
Of course.
It's something of a rabbinical training, and it was handed down word of mouth from Moses, supposedly. And when the Bible was actually instituted as the Roman religion, that's when someone decided to put the Kabbalah in a written form.
That is interesting. I was not aware of that. I know that, come the Second Testament, then, we all have Jesus, which, but the First Testament is so that is fascinating.
And
Wow.
the thing is, in the Epic of Gilgamesh,
Yes.
we've actually known that this is the root, the source of the stories of Genesis now for over 150 years. But because people want to see things religiously or culturally, they filter things and refuse things that disagree with their actual knowledge.
And that persists. That persists in many fields of what we, we'll just put it under the tree called paranormal. All those branches, in terms of debunkers, etc. Skeptics. Skepticism is healthy, but
Well,
to dismiss
really,
out of hand because you have your blinders on, that furthers nothing to do with the truth.
It's cynicism. It's not skepticism.
Very good.
It's a terrible, terrible definition of skepticism. Skeptic actually means thoughtful. That's the original Greek translation.
Yes. Okay.
Definition.
Good.
It doesn't mean to deny or be a doubtful Thomas.
Right.
That to automatically deny something or doubt something is called cynicism. And would you rather be a cynic or a skeptic?
Yeah, exactly. And so we colloquially we have really played fast and loose with those two terms.
Yes, and English is a tough language anyway. I've written several articles that are now getting international attention, and one of them deals on redefining the word consciousness. Scientists are especially the quantum physicists.
Right.
They're all telling us that the whole universe is conscious, and this is actually to a Greek belief, or just like the indigenous Americans, of a living world. Plato described different forms. They're called the Plato. And the way he described the Earth was as a convex polyhedron. And if you think of something like a soccer ball, that would be, I think, close to it. I just saw a message saying I was breaking up.
Yes, I'm hearing just a little scatter in the track. Heaven only knows what this is, but Bill will be taking care of this at his end. Now you mentioned
you're breaking up now.
Oh dear. Well, breaking up is hard to do. Like we're fragmenting like the Comet Y4, perhaps. So can you hear me now?
Good thing, because it was going to be a very close pass. Yes.
Yes. Right. Well, however, not to worry. Not that close. Nothing to get your knickers in a twist over, as they say. Can we talk about?
And there are signs that. Yes.
No signs that.
Carol?
Go ahead. Finish your sentence.
Oh no. I was going to bring us into why I'm actually a unique Anunnaki
yes, please
researcher, mainly because I have a personal a personal connection to this that I wasn't aware of when I wrote my first book, which you encouraged me to write. Thank you.
Way back. Yes. Gentle listeners, Dan and I can remember getting an email from you initially when I was doing it was like, okay, if there's not a UFO, you can't cover it news for another network that has now gone to ground. And I had no platform to offer you. And so it is so, and that was, I guess we're going about, maybe like 6 years back at the very least. So flesh that out for everybody.
Well, when I wrote my first book,
yes.
It was on discoveries that I had made in Marfa, Texas.
Yes. So here we go. This is what I plugged on my Facebook. It is. Here we go.
This is
buckle up,
book,
everybody.
A book titled "America's Electric Nazca, Megalithic Marfa, Texas," in which I found through satellite aerial archaeology, which is the best tool archaeologists have ever had, is satellite imagery for archaeology use. And what I found were lines and geoglyphs in the plateau of Marfa, Texas.
Oh boy.
And this is famous for its phantom lights.
Right, the Marfa lights. I did a little bit of, in case there are gentle listeners who aren't hip to this, just in a couple of sentences, here it is. Thank you, Wikipedia. The first historical record of the Marfa lights was in 1883, when a young cowhand named Robert Reed Ellison saw a flickering light as he was driving cattle through Paisano Pass and wondered if that could be a campfire lit by Apache Indians. Other settlers told him they often saw those lights, but when they investigated, they found no ashes, no evidence of any campsite. And I remember reading accounts that were so baffling, so vexing to these cowboys, because they would get, it's sort of like the closer they got, the farther away this fire seemed to be.
They actually tried to chase them at night, and they couldn't get any nearer than seeing them in the distance. And this occurred all the way through World War II, which our military had set up an air base there.
Right, here we go. It's right here. The specs of it. View Park, etc., a roadside park on the south side of U.S. Route 90, 9 miles, 14 kilometers east of Marfa, Texas, is at the site of Marfa Army Airfield, where tens of thousands of personnel were stationed between 1942 and 1947, training American and Allied pilots. This massive field was then used for years as a regional airport, blah, blah, blah. Since the Marfa Army Airfield and its satellite fields were constantly patrolled by sentries, they considered it highly unlikely that any unusual phenomena would remain observed, and unmentioned. So it's okay. And then there's that thing
in World War II,
right?
As they did training, nighttime flying training over Marfa, Texas. And the pilots reported trying to chase these lights and almost crashing into the earth.
Wow.
So
and
they're real.
Here, Marfa is at an elevation of 4,688 feet above sea level. And so, this, and there's a big fluctuation of temperatures. So I suppose we could be talking about some as yet unknown meteorological thing, but and then Marfa lights, you can go see them. There are tours, et cetera, et cetera. And it was written off as being car lights. So there we go with, nonsensical debunking of something that is
one of the universities, I think it was the University of Texas, sent a bunch of students out there.
May of 2004, yes.
And they stood around the viewing center. And for one night, they didn't take any soil samples, and they of course concluded everything was car lights. Dismissing all of the previous evidence, including evidence from our own military, that these lights are not car lights. They exist without anything human activity.
Absolutely. And the fact that, back in those early recorded episodes in the 1880s, we didn't have car lights. So not exactly, not so should know it.
This area is amazing, though. It's connected to the Cahuilla Desert, and this is part of the Zona del Silencio.
Oh, my God, that zone of silence, yes?
And the amazing city of Pequime is actually a part of this, where they come upon this city that has 3 or 4 different kinds of construction types and strange doorway openings. And they've talked about all kinds of paranormal activity coming out of there, but there are also lots of incidents of UFOs out there. And when I went out to Texas to photographically validate what I had seen in the satellite, I had actually had a UFO that I have filmed, but I thought I had the whole thing filmed, and it was just a couple of blinks, that were in the camera shot. I was very new at doing any kind of sky watching, but
oh my. All right, we have 1 minute to a break. I'm going to read a question from Neutron in the KGRA chat room and let you mull it over during the break, and then we will go back to where we are leaving right now. He says that in October of 2017, the ESO observatories witnessed for the first time how gold was made when two neutron stars collided together at high speeds. Do you think we might finally be spared from the Anunnaki coming here every 36,000 years for the gold and have the technology to now go get their gold instead of for now considering how they measured the gold equivalent to 9 planet Earths of gold? So we'll let you mull that over. We'll come back and we will try to weave all these tapestry threads together into something that is a little bit coherent. Ooh, gold threads. That sounds lovely. So you are listening to Behind the Obsidian Curtain on KGRAradio.com, your source for everything in alternative talk. This is our guest tonight, Dan Hoquist, and I'm your host, Carole Carle. We'll be right back.
Okay, nurse, let's get this man to the ER stat.
Right away, doctor.
We see this every day. Heart attack or angina pain due to blocked and clogged arteries. Chelation can remove obstructions or blockages from arteries and help avoid painful and expensive surgery. Now there's Angioprim. It's a liquid oral chelation product that you take with juice. You start to feel the results fast. Angioprim increases blood flow all over the body, and that means more energy and strength to take on the day with less aches and pains. 60 years of research has gone into chelation, and Angioprim is the result. A safe and easy way to unblock your veins and arteries from buildup that slow circulation.
Paging Dr. Jones. Please report to the emergency room right away.
Log on now to angioprim.com. That's ANGIOPRIM.com. Or to speak with a trained consultant. Give Angioprim a call at 954-882-7221. That's 954-882-7221.
Folks, this is very important information. What's to be said about CBD? AncientLifeOil.com. Our CBD is made from hemp and has 0.003 THC, which means this wonderful product won't get you high, no matter what amount you take. What does CBD do for the body? My hands are tied. But you can Google CBD benefits and be astounded. When you're finished reading, you'll want to log on to AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com. and purchase. Life is good when you feel good. People are tired of pain. People are asking for non-GMO organic products to help them with, you fill in the blank. Legal in 49 states, and again, our CBD is made from hemp. Ancient Life Oil is about helping people one by one by one. If you wonder how good the product is, the CEO takes it every day without miss. AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com. Have a great day.
Hey, is that a new music app?
Yeah, check it out. Surfer Music Discovery. It links to thousands of online stations, but the twist is you see the song names and artists that are now playing live.
That's different. No guessing. Looks like a waterfall of music.
So many formats. Rock, oldies, country, R&B, jazz, and a whole lot more.
How's that spelled?
Surfer. S-U-R-F-R.
Is it expensive?
It's free. No need to sign up or sign in.
Get the Surfer Music app free from Google Play or the App Store.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Mainstream media's most wanted. KGRAradio.com.
And we are back behind the Obsidian Curtain in case you're just joining us. Well, what's the matter with you? But anyway, that's how it goes. We are here tonight talking with Dan Hoquist, whose specialty is, well, it's gigantic. And we were talking when we went to break, I posed a question asked by Neutron in the KGRA chat room, the robust chat room. You can do it. Just get on in there. Keep clicking away at every prompt. Apparently, there's a giant gaffe. Would you like to correct what I said?
Well, actually, you're talking about the 3,600 years cycle that Zecharia Sitchin conceived of for the planet Nibiru to come back into our orbital, our solar system.
Right.
But I found that that is simply not credible, mainly because of Billy Meirer.
Oh, Billy Meirer, as in what is
ongoing?
Right.
The Pleiadians.
Right. What is called the I believe it's the UFO, the wedding cake UFO.
Right, and
Right.
I've actually found a picture from NASA, and that shows wedding cake UFO on the moon in a crater. So Billy Meirer has never been debunked at all, although hundreds of people have tried. But he asked the Pleiadians very early on about Nibiru, told that had been corrected. And I have to say that anybody that has experienced any kind of a collision, planetary collision problem, and had the ability to actually with anti-gravity, that would have. Now, about the gold.
Yes. And I think I think I said 36,000 years, and it's 3,600. Yes. Sorry. Okay. My bad.
Oh no, it's a misconception, a misperception. The gold that this is also again from Zecharia Sitchin that they created humans to mine gold.
Yes.
But I gotta say that it doesn't hold up to that. We don't have night vision, and our
Right.
sun vision is even worse. But for us to actually have hundreds of thousand years in mines is it's not possible. We would all be blind, I think, coming out of.
Yes. Right. That might.
But as far as the gold, let me answer that by a Russian researcher named Kalashnikov, who developed ways for us to try to picture other technological species, and he called it a Type 1, Type 2, and Type 3 civilization.
Right.
In a Type 1 civilization.
Somebody else picked that up. Michio Kaku? Am I correct in that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Physicist. Yeah.
Mhm.
Although I was a government spokesman, but anyway,
Yes.
he's a nice guy.
Okay.
Anyway, they were a Type 1 civilization when they came to this planet. That means that their own weather control system, and they could control the energy of their whole planet. That's what a Type 1 civilization is. Type 2 civilization controls the energy and possibly a solar system. Type 3 civilization is pure energy, or actually uses the energy of the cosmos directly.
Mm-hmm.
Now, being a Type 1 civilization, it's likely that they needed actual resources. But I believe that these people evolved themselves or ascended from a Type 1 to a Type 2 civilization during the time that they were here. And the reason I say that is because the Emerald Tablets of Thoth are thought by many alchemists to actually be the Philosopher's Stone for transmutation of lead into gold, which is, so they can create elements now. They have the power of a solar system. As a Type 2 civilization, they can create their own elements now. They don't need our gold. They don't need our water. Basically these people view us as their children. We are their colonists. And what makes me even more unique as an Anunnaki researcher is that I actually know what these people looked like and who they were. And that comes from my discovery of the geoglyphs in Southwest Texas, in Marfa, Texas.
So let's go there. I am just fascinated because I really don't have an answer to this personally. What gave you the heads up? What made you look there? What is the provenance of that?
I was actually following the solstice line from the Great Pyramid. See, if you go from one corner of the Great Pyramid to its diagonally opposite corner, and you follow that around the Earth, it is both the summer and the winter solstice alignments. Now, this is proof that our planet has been surveyed from space. And the fact is, we've been terraformed too.
So I'm just so intrigued. I'm going to again interrupt you and back you up just slightly, circling back to what inspired you. What were set the scene for us. Like, okay, we're watching Dan Hoquist finds this out, stumbles upon this. Where were you? What was going on?
I had begun to look at the land closely where these alignments passed, because when I first started, it was because of seeing the summer solstice through a notch in my area, and I was intrigued by it. I was at the time, trying to do a little landscape project, which included a scale model Stonehenge, and I have a mind that I have to get things right.
Right. That's that pattern recognition thing, right? That you grew up with. Yes.
And so when I started to try to find where this line was going, it directed me farther and farther away from where I live in Southern California. It's a semicircular area called San Gorgonio Pass.
Yes.
And it drew me out to Catalina. And
wow.
Funny thing is, of course, I just can't help myself. Research.
Right.
It used to be called Stonehenge Island, in particular because it had rocks in the circular center, which is a huge island. This on the outside of the circular center were stones placed in positions for astronomical and eclipse, just like Stonehenge.
I had no idea.
And not only that links to an archaeologist back in the late 1800s who he was working with the Aztec archaeology and had heard a story of noble giants on Catalina. So he came up and together with a local living on the island, they started to excavate. And the first thing that they excavated was a particular blonde-haired giant skeleton that was 10 feet tall. Whoa. And it had a slab with strange hieroglyphics. Now, you might remember that Oak Island had also discovered a slab with strange hieroglyphics.
Yes, I do.
Well, the solstice alignment, when I calculated the actual solstice alignment from the center of Catalina Island, it took me directly across the Grand Canyon, over a step pyramid in Wisconsin called Fort Aztalan, and then on over an area of UFO fame in Nova Scotia, the Shag Harbor.
Yes.
And when I crossed over that, I have a picture of a huge USO in the waters outside of Shag Harbor. And I asked,
that's an
I said
an unidentified submersible object. Is that
unidentified submersible object?
Oh, okay.
And it's a large rectangle with these circular engines and what appears to be something like a Tesla electricity coil that is powering these things. And you can actually see the water being disturbed, in the photograph. I actually contacted Stanton Friedman, and he was one of the easiest researchers of all times to contact.
How wonderful!
He was a great man. Yes. And I asked him to look into it because he was lecturing in Nova Scotia, and he sent me back an email saying nobody had any idea what that was.
Oh, for heaven's sake!
That line continued, crosses over Oak Island. Now, this point at Shag Harbor is the farthest northeast point of the continent that we live on.
Yes.
Okay? There, you can't go any farther east and north.
Right. That's all there is. There isn't anymore. Right.
Right. And for it to cross over Oak Island is, kind of, it was kind of amazing. But this was my first book, getting back to the Anunnaki.
Yes, right. And here's a question from Ron Tolvatar of Radio. Why would the Anunnaki come back to planet Earth?
It's because they never left.
Oh,
we are their children. There are two factions of the Anunnaki. The Water Clan and the Air Clan. The Air Clan is Enlil's clan. The Water Clan would be Enki. This all goes back to a story of Tiamat, and I'll get into that if I have time. But yes. I wanted to explain who the Anunnaki were.
Please, right.
Because when I got to actually look over these geoglyphs and lines in Texas that they only make sense when you highlight them. In other words, when they're lit up. So this area was a whole area of navigational interest for someone flying. And it's set for an altitude of about 15,000 feet, which is beyond our normal planes. You have to have a oxygen, compartment. Right. Because 10,000 feet is about, believe me, that's all I could get up to in the helicopter when I crossed over Marfa, Texas. So I couldn't.
And as I recall, you had to get special permission to do that flyover. Is that correct?
Actually, when I started, actually working with the lines and geoglyphs, the first thing I found was that this whole area was an E-restricted airspace. In other words, a military restricted airspace. And through battles with the FAA and FOIAs right and left, I finally got a certified letter from the head of the FAA saying they had changed the designation of the airspace to a regular public airspace. So that's
interesting.
I felt like I had actually accomplished something then.
Well, indeed. I mean, you set that ball rolling. You got that plane off the runway.
I hope that others will follow in this study of the area too, because you can now fly over the area and see these things for yourself. Drones don't work real well because of the altitude. The drones only go up a couple of thousand feet. You really need something like the flyovers in Nazca, which is also set for an altitude of 15,000 feet.
Oh, no, that doesn't sound to me like a coincidence.
No, it's not.
Is this
the same lines exist in Nazca that exist in Marfa, Texas?
Oh, my. That just seems intentional rather than random and happenstance. So if we were to have the coordinates, is this something that we could, observe at home on our computers using Google Earth?
Yes,
wow.
You can. Or you can go to my YouTube channel, dondanl-dan.
That's the way to do it.
Hoquist.
Dondanl, and let's spell that as D-O-D. Okay, spell it.
dondanl. And that's also my website, dondanl.com. where I'm getting international recognition for my articles you might find interesting.
That
and
is
I welcome
fantastic.
any comments.
Yes.
I'm getting hundreds of comments from Sri Lanka to Australia and New Guinea.
Wow.
Yeah, they even allow me in China. So
say that is, shall we say that is quite a coup. Yeah, China, well, okay, but that is
anyway, the lines,
please.
once I started highlighting these, I came across a character of an elongated headed person and with a small nose and a square jaw. And the more I highlighted, I realized that included were a human face and a simian face in a multiple kind of artwork. Now, remember, I told you that everything the Anunnaki did has multiple meanings, multiple uses.
Yes.
After highlighting the line, I started to find these characters all over the plateau. But coming back to a common misperception, common misconception from Zecharia Sitchin again, he had the Anunnaki actually genetically manipulating Australopithecus, which was a kind of hominid, a more human hominid because the foot structure. But what I found in Marfa, Texas, were different species of simian, and the elongated headed people were basically similarly the same. At least to human eyes, they're going to look the same. I'm sure
right,
that
and that is and we are bypassing. And again, I would just want to confirm that we are bypassing the possibility of cradle-boarded infants that would produce that skull shape. Yes, okay.
Yeah, and really, every one of these pieces of artwork was a multiple person artwork. It had an elongated headed character, a simian face, and a human face. But what was intriguing, I could recognize baboon, and then very distinctly was an orangutan and a bearded human face. So in other words, Caucasians may be, part of the orangutan species, the red head. This is where the red hair comes from. This is where the different melanin and stuff actually comes from, is that they used local simians while they did this. And the reason for that is because they came from a much larger world. That means the gravity was very much heavier. Okay? This is why there are stories of giants in the Sumerian times. It's because their offspring became gigantic. NASA has shown that humans experience what's called skeletal elongation in micro and non-gravities. And this doesn't bode well for any trips to Mars, by the way.
Yeah, right.
They might be a one-way trip only because of that. Yeah.
I just have to interrupt. There is this thing with humans known as fetopelvic disproportion, which is something, that obstetricians are always, and especially using ultrasound, they're able to nail this. This is when the mother is, 5 feet and the father is 6'2", and it makes for, cautionary delivery, often cesarean sections. So how would that have even worked?
There is no way. A human female could not have birthed a giant of any kind. Any kind of manipulation, and the reason for the human species has to be a genetic manipulation, because obviously we didn't evolve here. And Sir Francis Crick, co-discoverer of DNA, actually felt that there was a species who was doing what a seeding of this planet. And he
he
went on to say that panspermia, any species,
my favorite topic, yes,
any species capable of seeding one planet wouldn't stop at one. So because of the Drake equation,
Yes.
which is an algebraic equation that lists different star types, etc., and it includes the planets in the Goldilocks zone,
Yes,
etc.
right. Yep.
He came up with a number of 36 million intelligent, sentient species that could manipulate their environment. And that's
Keyword,
very
manipulate.
important
Yes.
because we have other sentient species here on Earth, but like the dolphin and killer whales, they have very distinct cultures, incredible language that we know since the 1980s.
Yes.
Day of the Dolphin is
right,
actually
exactly.
based on a true story.
Right, exactly. A fantastic film. And I'm just gonna okay, here's a segue, clumsy though it be. Libertas, a mainstay in KGRA chat, has asked this question. Are you aware, and I'm sure you are, of the Smithsonian hiding giant? This is the Smithsonian Institution hiding giant skeletons, or the skeletons of giants. And what's your take on that?
Yes. They had to have, because the excavations in Catalina ended in 1928 with the total number of giant skeletons at about 3,700 skeletal, complete skeletons that were buried on Catalina Island. And of course, this isn't reported, but there are stories of giants throughout the United States, and I believe the mounds were actually probably theirs. Because I don't see indigenous people moving Earth like that, especially to a form that you can actually recognize from 15,000 feet in the air.
You see that yes, right, yes.
But I wanted to mention that my own personal connection came in when I went to rewrite the first book. I found that I am personally connected to this.
Oh my gosh.
Because when I theorized that alignment from Catalina across the United States, specifically crossing over the Grand Canyon, I was unprepared for 2017 when I was preparing to write that there is an actual anomalous geographical feature. And remember that nature doesn't build in straight lines.
Yes.
This is a valley that is incredible. It runs exactly from the Grand Canyon to just offshore in the Catalina area. Now, this is a top-down depression, not something that has caved in. This came from removal of Earth from the top down. It crosses over at least 2. It looks like 3 mountain ranges, and it can be seen at satellite distances of up to 35 miles in the air. This also links to the Hopi story of the creation story, where Old Man, that's who they called Enki, I believe.
Okay.
Once they had come out of the Grand Canyon following the Spider Woman, that's skeletal elongation again. As they grow old, their skeletons elongate. They become giant people on Earth. Which isn't possible on their planet because they have such a much more robust skeletal system than us, and the elongated heads have come back from DNA showing that exact same thing, that they're 25 to 30% greater bone density. And when you try to imagine how this is possible on an evolutionary scale, you can't. There is no evolutionary mechanism for that kind of bone density.
Right. It just doesn't mesh. I get that. Okay, Libertas.
But anyway, this line.
Okay, go ahead, and then I have a question before we
actual geological line crosses over the area where I lived for most of my life, went to school at for most of my life. My mother put in the cornerstone of a gym where this line crosses exactly over.
Yes, I remember that from back in IRN days. Indeed. Oh my God. And so, it is as though you are
born on the winter solstice.
You are genetically tasked to do this, my friend.
Apparently,
I think
I have been manipulated throughout my life. This line crosses over near Kitching Peak. I am the only person I know alive who has actually hiked up Kitching Peak as a young man. When I was hiking the Pacific Crest Trail, which is over there, I decided to go back up and look down upon the pass area where I live, because that's the last point where you can do it.
Yes.
This line is exactly over the Kitching Peak, which is exactly at the end of the San Andreas Fault. If Kitching Peak did not exist, the San Andreas Fault would continue all the way through to Baja California. It was purposely placed to halt continental drift. And
I love this.
Because this geographical feature, you can say without a doubt that the Earth has not moved or shifted in thousands of years. And we've been told in California how California is moving north. No, it's not.
It's not.
It is stable.
Oh, this grieves me greatly. But on this note, we have to wrap. Dan Hoquist, this has been an absolute pleasure. We want you to come back. There are many questions yet to solve.
Can I mention my book?
Yes, please. Your title of your book.
My first book is America's Electric Nazca, Megalithic Marfa, Texas. My second book, which details more importantly these alignments throughout the world, it's called The Solstice Connection. And you can see this on my YouTube channel under the series that I made called The Solstice Connection. My third book is a scientific speculative history of the Anunnaki. And I think it's very interesting for everybody because it disagrees with almost every researcher out there, physics, etc. And it will alter your paradigm.
Speaking of altered paradigms, I so disagree with what the clock is telling us, but we've got to go. And thank you so much, Dan Hoquist. We appreciated this greatly. This was really a treat. Next week, stay tuned next week for Earl Grey, who will join us again behind the Obsidian curtain. And don't touch that dial. Coming up right now on KGRAradio.com is Don Ecker, whose guest will be Dr. John Brandenburg. Don't go away. Stay safe, everybody. Remember, you are not now, nor have you ever been truly alone. We are all in this together. This is Carole Carle. See you next week.